Could 2025 be the absolute worst year to retire? I'm going to share with you my three reasons why I think it might be. But first, I want to share with you some background. Having been a financial advisor for over 20 years, now retired, but this type of question gets asked a lot. So I want to give you some background before I go into the three reasons it might be the absolute worst year to retire. And the background on it is every year. I don't care how strong the year is, I don't care how scary the year is. Every year people would ask me that question. They're ready to retire and they'd say, "Oh, is 2013 the absolute worst year to retire? 2018, 2020 when COVID started, 2022." So it's a common question, and if you're thinking about retiring and you're feeling it, first off, know that it's normal, but also be very, very careful, but because it might be a delay tactic, because the four most dangerous words for a retiree are just one more year. And it's easy to say, well, it's not that I'm putting off retiring, it's just that I think that, this is the worst year to retire, so I'm not going to. And that can be a dangerous game to play because eventually what we do know is if you wait a year, you'll be 1 year closer to where the time comes, unfortunately, where you lose your health. You'll be 1 year closer to where the time comes that, unfortunately, your time on this planet is up. And you'll be 1 year closer to having, or I should say, 50 weeks closer to having used up what's likely going to be the 1,000 weeks of healthy active time, if you're lucky, that we have at 60. So if you're feeling like, you know, I'm worried about retiring this year because I think it might be one of the worst years. Now, I am going to get to the three reasons why it might be one of the worst years. Know that I don't have a crystal ball, but let's jump into it, and I can share my thoughts based on these three things. How I think people should be thinking about this. Nothing I'm going to share with you today is financial advice. I don't know your situation, but these are three things to have on your radar screen. And the first one is, as I record this, the market's at or near all-time highs. Is the market overvalued? I don't know. One thing I can tell you is the market's not cheap. There's always a reason for the valuation that we have, or it wouldn't be where it is. And I think one of the reasons people are bullish on the market right now, frankly, is just the potential cost savings that artificial intelligence might offer big companies. One of a company's largest expenses is its people. And just like a bicycle has made us all more efficient, getting from point A to point B, a car has done the same thing. Um, but same thing with computers, same thing with calculators back in the day, same thing with the internet. It allows people to get more done. But I think this could be a step change like mankind has never seen, right? And that could be a good thing and that could be a bad thing. But if you're a company where one of your largest expenses is labor, there's a lot of positives that come out of being able to get one worker to do the work of two or three workers. So valuations are high, but they might be merited. They might not be. The other thing is geopolitical tensions are super high. As I record this, the United States just dropped those bunker bombs on Iran, and obviously Ukraine and Russia's situation continues to go. Um, the situation with Israel continues, Israel and Hamas. So there's a lot of geopolitical strife right now. So that's the second reason. Um, there, just the uncertainty that comes from that. Could something bad happen? Could a big war break out? It could. I hope it doesn't. I pray it doesn't, but it could. Now, that's not from a financial standpoint. Yes, that would probably initially be a very bad thing, but we've been through wars before, and there is the dawn at the end of that situation, at least from a stock market standpoint. Um, so we've got the geopolitical tensions, we've got the market valuation going on, and then there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of uncertainty now. Remember back, April 2nd, when Trump announced the major tariffs and the market fell. Now, the market has largely recovered from there, but those are three big risks with the stock market as it is right now. But does that mean that 2025 is the absolute worst year to retire? Well, the concern, so it may be a delay tactic if you're feeling that way. It may not be. But the concern any retiree has is one of the biggest risks we have is what's called sequence of return risk. And what that means is, let's say we're going to live another 30 years. And, we had 30 numbers that the stock market's going to produce each of those 30 years. Well, if we could choose to have all of the negative, the bad years in the stock market at the end, that would be a really good thing for us. If we have to have, if there's going to be a negative 20% year in there, a negative 30% year in there, boy, if we could choose when we're going to have that, we want to choose to have that at the end when our account balances are the lowest. And frankly, it's the least painful for us to cut back on expenses because, when we're 90 years old, what are we really going to be spending our money on? Unfortunately, probably healthcare. But probably our travel, our go-go years are probably behind us, which is why it's important to be thoughtful and deliberate about when you're retiring. Because we're not going to have those go-go years. We're not going to have those healthy years forever. So, be really careful when you push back just one more year. Be really careful when you're saying, okay, this is a bad year to retire. I mean, one of the things you could do is have 2 or 3 years worth of living expenses if you're fearful that the market's going to have a correction. Because what you want to avoid doing is being what I call a forced seller in a down market. And a forced seller in a down market is somebody that has to sell. A classic example of that might be a real estate developer. Maybe they've got a lot of debt that's coming due. And even though the stock market's down, they need access to capital to pay down loans. So they become forced sellers. And it's one of the reasons that having been a financial advisor for over 20 years, one of the things I noticed was real estate attorneys tend to have two areas of specialty. One is real estate, but the other one is bankruptcies. Because when things are going well, their clients are really busy and they're doing a lot of real estate deals. But unfortunately, when things are going poorly, sometimes they're helping their clients declare bankruptcy and deal with the debt situation. So avoiding being a forced seller in a down market, and if you're delaying retiring because you don't want to be a forced seller in a down market because you are worried about what's going to happen in the stock market, what I would urge you to do is work with a professional, come up with a plan, say, hey, I'm worried about the stock market. So what can we do from an asset allocation standpoint? What can we do as far as having cash set aside so you don't have to delay your retirement in order to do that? So job number one, or the gold standard, is to use a financial advisor. I think regardless of whether you use a financial advisor or not, and I know a lot of viewers of my channel are not going to pay the 1% that a fiduciary financial advisor typically charges 1% of the assets that they're managing. If you're not going to do that, I urge you, don't build your own plan in Excel or Google Sheets. Use a tool that's designed for you. The tool that I like is called Bolvin, used to be called New Retirement. You can find a link in the description below, but it's very affordable, it's very powerful, and it'll help you make good decisions. If you enjoyed this video, I think the next video you're going to enjoy of mine specifically for you is these are the 8 things to think about stop doing in your 50s in order to enjoy your 60s and 70s more. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.